Hello everyone and welcome to my video on solving quadratics. Here we're going to look at how to solve them by factoring. We're not actually going to learn how to factor. There are separate videos for that, so if you don't know how to factor, make sure you check those out. Here we're going to do two examples. So let's start. I'm going to move this example off to the side for now, and we'll take a look at the first example. So first thing you want to do when solving by factoring is you want to get your quadratic equal to 0 and in standard form. So in this case, I'm going to move that 3x over so it joins the 6x squared by subtracting it on both sides, and I get 6x squared minus 3x equals 0. Again, I wanted it in standard form, so I kept the 6x squared first and then the 3 minus 3x second. Now you'll take a look at this and notice it looks a little different than a lot of quadratics. There is no c term here, or the c term is 0. So what you want to do when you have a problem like this is all you really need to do to factor it is factor out a GCF. So 6 and 3 have a common factor of 3, and x squared and x have a common factor of x. If you don't know how I did that, again, there's some videos for GCFs. And then I'm going to go ahead and factor it out. So 6x squared divided by 3x is 2x. And negative 3x divided by 3x is negative 1. All right, so I factor the quadratic. Once I do this, again, making sure it's equal to 0, I'm going to take each factor and set it equal to 0 and solve. And the reason we do that is because we can think of this as a multiplication problem. Here we have two numbers or terms being multiplied together. 3x is being multiplied by 2x minus 1. So it's also being multiplied to 0. So anytime anything's multiplied by 0, no matter what the other numbers are, it's going to be 0. So if either one of these terms are 0, the entire quadratic multiplies to 0. So we want to find the x's that make any and all factors equal to 0. So the way we do that is we take any and all factors and we set them equal to 0. And then we solve for x because we want to know the specific x, not the whole term. So in this case, 3x equals 0. In order to solve this one, I would just divide both sides by 3. That would give me 1x equals 0. And then on the other side, I want to solve for x. So I would add 1 to both sides. That would leave me with 2x equals 1. And divide both sides by 2 to get x by itself. And I get x equals 1/2. And so those are the solutions to this problem. Those are all the numbers. They're the values for x that would make this quadratic equal to 0. Okay? So let's take a look at the second example. All right, so again, when we are solving a quadratic, we need it in standard form and equal to 0. So the first thing I want to do is get it equal to 0. I can do that by subtracting 6x squared on both sides. So 0 equals negative 6x squared plus 32 minus 16x. Now here the problem is it's not in standard form. Right? So I need to switch the two terms, the plus 32 and the minus 16x. Remember, when rearranging terms, always keep the sign to the left. So 0 equals negative 6x squared minus 16x plus 32. Right? The terms keep their sign to the left. All right, now we need to factor this. The first thing you should notice is that there's a GCF. Now, I don't want to have my quadratic with a negative leading coefficient, because if that happens, I can't really factor it. So I need to get rid of that negative in front of the x squared. So even though the GCF here is 2, because 6, 16, and 32 can all be divided by 2, I'm going to factor out a negative 2, so I get rid of the GCF and the negative in one shot. So negative 6x squared divided by negative 2 is 3x squared. Negative 16x divided by negative 2 is plus 8x. And 32 divided by negative 2 is minus 16. Right? So you'll notice when you factor out a negative GCF, it changes all the signs in the original quadratic. All right, so again, we are not here to learn how to factor, so I'm going to show you what the factors are, pretending that we went through and did this. Right? If I were to factor 3x squared plus 8x minus 16, I would get 3x minus 4 times x plus 4, right? And then we keep that GCF of -2. Now, I want to set all my factors equal to 0 like we did in the last problem. But I don't need to worry about the GCF. The only terms you need to worry about are terms that have an x. This -2 doesn't have an x, so I don't have to worry about it. You could even think about dividing both sides by -2, and it would cancel on the right and still stay 0 on the left. But what I do is I just don't worry about it. I take all the terms that do have an x, and I set those equal to 0 and solve. Now, had that been a -2x, we would have had to set it equal to 0. All right, when I do this, it's just solving a 1 or 2 step equation here. So for this one, I would add 4 to both sides and get 3x equals 4. Divide both sides by 3, and x equals 4/3. Subtract 4 on both sides, x equals -4. All right, so I have my two answers, -4 and 4/3. Again, if you struggle with factoring or GCFs, there are separate videos for that.